The book, How to Listen When Markets Speak by Lawrence G. McDonald and James Patrick Robinson, offers a compelling exploration of the shifts in the global economy and financial markets, framed within historical and modern contexts. It's a guide to understanding risks, seizing opportunities, and adapting to a radically reshaped economic landscape. The following summary captures the book's essence, weaving together the most critical insights and examples. Introduction: A banquet of consequences. McDonald begins by setting the stage for a turbulent economic era, likening it to a banquet of consequences that stems from decades of fiscal and monetary excess. Over the past 3 decades, globalization, disinflation, and technological progress created unprecedented wealth. However, these periods of prosperity also fostered complacency and risky behaviors such as excessive borrowing and over-reliance on financial markets. Now, the world faces persistent inflation, geopolitical instability, resource scarcity, and the decline of the US dollar. The book's central aim is not to incite fear, but to prepare readers for the challenges ahead. McDonald draws on his Wall Street experience and unique systemic risk indicators to provide insights into navigating this new financial order. The narrative shifts between historical events, economic analysis, and conversations with financial luminaries like Charlie Munger and David Einhorn, offering a roadmap for investors. The end of an era. McDonald traces the origins of the current financial landscape to the collapse of the Soviet Union in the late 1980s and early 1990s. This marked the end of a multipolar world and the beginning of a unipolar era dominated by the United States. Global trade flourished, supported by a strong dollar and abundant cheap labor from China and other emerging markets. The unipolar order suppressed inflation, allowing interest rates to decline steadily. U.S. Treasury yields fell from 15% in the early 1980s to below 1% in the 2010s, fueling a boom in financial assets. The S&P 500 soared, and growth stocks became the darlings of investors. However, this disinflationary regime was built on unsustainable foundations, including rising debt and economic imbalances. America crosses the Rubicon. McDonald highlights pivotal moments when U.S. policymakers crossed critical thresholds, exacerbating systemic risks, from the Federal Reserve's bailouts during the long-term capital management crisis in 1998 to the massive monetary interventions following the 2008 financial crisis. The Fed's actions fundamentally altered market dynamics. Low interest rates and quantitative easing inflated asset bubbles, while fiscal deficits soared to unprecedented levels. By 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine exposed the fragility of this system. Energy shortages, supply chain disruptions, and rising inflation forced central banks to tighten monetary policy, ending the era of easy money. McDonald warns that future crises will challenge the Fed's ability to respond, potentially leading to hyperinflation or severe economic contractions. The green transition and resource scarcity, one of the book's central themes, is the impact of the global transition to renewable energy. McDonald argues that efforts to decarbonize the economy have created unintended consequences, including energy shortages and skyrocketing demand for critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, and copper. He critiques policymakers for underestimating the challenges of transitioning to a green economy without sufficient investment in infrastructure and resource extraction. The competition for resources will define the next decade, presenting both risks and opportunities for investors. McDonald emphasizes the importance of hard assets, such as commodities and precious metals, which are poised to outperform in an inflationary environment. The psychology of bubbles, drawing parallels between historical and contemporary asset bubbles, McDonald explores the psychology behind market manias. From Japan's real estate and stock market bubble in the 1980s to the dot-com boom of the 1990s and the more recent crypto craze, he illustrates how investor behavior is often driven by fear of missing out, FOMO, rather than rational analysis. McDonald warns that the shift from active to passive investing has exacerbated market distortions. Exchange-traded funds, ETFs, and algorithmic trading concentrate capital in a narrow set of assets, increasing systemic risk. He encourages investors to adopt a contrarian approach, seeking value in underappreciated sectors. The decline of the US dollar. The book examines the declining dominance of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. McDonald attributes this trend to several factors, including rising fiscal deficits, geopolitical tensions, and efforts by countries like China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia to reduce their reliance on the dollar. The weakening dollar has profound implications for global trade and finance. As countries diversify their reserves, the US may face higher borrowing costs and reduced influence on the world stage. McDonald advises investors to hedge against dollar depreciation by diversifying into alternative currencies and hard assets. Portfolio strategies for the next decade. McDonald concludes with actionable strategies for navigating the coming economic upheaval. He advocates for a diversified portfolio that emphasizes hard assets, precious metals, industrial minerals, and energy commodities offer protection against inflation and resource scarcity. Value stocks. Companies with strong fundamentals and undervalued assets are likely to outperform in a high interest rate environment. Cash reserves. Maintaining liquidity provides flexibility to capitalize on market dislocations. Global diversification. Investing in emerging markets and alternative currencies reduces exposure to US-centric risks. Conclusion. How to listen when markets speak is both a cautionary tale and a guide for the future. McDonald's insights challenge conventional wisdom, urging investors to adapt to a rapidly changing world. By understanding historical trends, recognizing systemic risks, and embracing contrarian strategies, readers can position themselves to thrive in an era of uncertainty. The markets are speaking, McDonald concludes. The question is whether we are willing to listen.
Thank you for listening to this audiobook by One Chapter Closer. Congratulations on being one book closer to your reading goals. Don't forget to check out our channel for more specially curated audiobooks. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on new releases. See you in the next book.